If you enjoy what we do on these podcasts, please go to mwpnews.com. There you can see articles about some of the movies we've seen, some things that we don't talk about on podcasts, and links to ways you can support the show. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam, in a louder car than before. I have a new car now. So, what we're here to talk about today is all of the MCU news that kind of broke during our pseudo-hiatus, and what it kind of means, and how we should interpret this going forward. So we're going to talk about Blade, we're going to talk about the Disney Plus plan for next year, and we're going to talk about what was the other big one that broke? The Disney Plus plan for next year, the Blade news, and there's another big one. Oh, the trailers, the two trailers. So let's get on with it. So let's start with Blade, because that's kind of the thing we've been keeping an eye on, because it's been 5 years since Blade was announced, and we still don't have a single frame of footage yet. They've shot nothing of this movie. We've had one appearance from Mahershala Ali, and it was off-screen voiceover in the post-credit, or the mid-credit of, was it post-credit or was it, either way, in the stinger at the end of Eternals. So the question is, what's going on? Are we ever going to get this movie? And I think that's a valid question. It's supposed to come out, it was supposed to come out under a year from now, in early November 2025, as the fourth movie from Marvel Studios next year. Then they decided, no, we're not doing that. We're going to put it out, we're going to pull it from the slate entirely. We don't know when it's coming out. Now, we've talked about this before with DC. We've talked about this before with Lucasfilm. This idea that if you don't know when a movie is coming out, don't announce it. Don't announce it. And you know why? Because people will fill in the blanks. True or not, they will fill in the blanks about why they think the movie is not out yet. Because we have a reasonable expectation as an audience. I mean, look over at Jurassic World 4, where it went from announcement to shooting to its coming out next year within the year. It was announced earlier this year, and in June we will have it. Like, in that, we can expect that movie to be coming out, and I think that's a reasonable and fair expectation. Now, is it going to be good? We don't know, but it is going to be released on time. And in a timely fashion. We are now 5 years removed from Blade. And the Blade announcement was one of those things that was so big at that presentation that when they were going through and doing it, they announced Secret Wars and at the time the Kang Dynasty. Oh no, they didn't even announce that there. Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty were announced later. This was the big announcement. Like, we have Eternals coming, we have Black Widow coming, we have, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Wanda's going to be a key role in that. We have WandaVision, we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier. All these things are on the way. And with all of these things on the way, it's like, okay, cool. When are they coming? And they gave release dates. Now, granted, all of it ended up getting delayed because of COVID, because this was announced in 2019. In summer of 2019, and also there were still things in flux because the acquisition of Fox had not gone through fully, but it is what it is. So, at the end of the day, what you end up with in this situation is this weird place where you're kind of like, well, what are we doing exactly? What is the actual, game plan here? Are we going to get, are we going to get Blade? Are we going to get, all of these things? So, and then Blade gets put on the slate, and then gets moved, and then gets moved, and then gets moved. And we've seen Blade moved 2 or 3 times, if not 4. It's been moved a lot. So it's been removed from the slate entirely now. I think what we need to do, and what we need to what the studios need to expect, is that the idea of announcing a specific movie with a specific actor way earlier than it should be announced is kind of not the best idea. It's one of those things where it's like, why are you doing that? If you're not 100% certain that the movie's going to be coming out when you announce it's going to be coming out, why announce it? Because the issue becomes, like, once it doesn't hit, people will start filling in, oh, it's because they can't get their script right, or that. And it's like, Blade is a relatively simple concept to make work on screen. They made it work in 1999 or 1998 when Wesley Snipes played Blade. He's a vampire. He's a half vampire hunter. Pretty simple concept to make work. Like, it's not something that's a hard sell for audiences. Yet we still have this recurring issue where they just can't get it to work. Like, they cannot get that script off the ground. And what it does is it makes them look incompetent. And then what happens is people can start filling in their own narratives into the void left behind by the fact that you've announced that a movie is in development, in an active development, and is going to be coming relatively soon, and keeps getting delayed and can't hold on to a director or writer. Like, what they're doing is not abnormal for something like this, where you're working within a studio system to create IP for a studio. What's going on here is not the weirdest situation, where we gotta find someone who can have the right take. Because again, it's kind of like like the MCU is less like a movie studio and more like a television company, where it's like, yes, at the end of the day, you're going to have all of these people who are going to be doing, who are going to be doing, telling stories that they're all interconnected. But at the end of the day, they all do kind of have to fit in. And yeah, you can put some stylistic flair into it. You can do, you can do different things. But at the end of the day, each one is going to have to, like, it has a role in telling the overarching story. And we saw what happens when you let, people complained about the MCU for doing that for a long time. Then they let the creatives do whatever they want. Like, unapologetically, Eternals is Chloe Zhao's movie. Unapologetically, Thor: Love and Thunder is Taika Waititi's movie. Unapologetically, these things are the movies that they wanted to create. And people did not resonate with that. So Blade just kind of gets caught on the cusp of this, where it's like, do we all want to find a director who can work the system? Do we want to find a director who can, who can add his own flair to it? I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I am not Kevin Feige or any of the executives at Marvel Studios. It's not my job to figure out what the best solution there is. Audience response indicates they want someone who can work the system. So if you were looking for someone to come at it with an original take, you're like, we just need to tell the story and not worry about the flair. And to that end, you can get movies that kind of do that. Like, Multiverse of Madness is not, like, Raimi's fingerprints are all over that movie, but I don't think a good amount of that movie is Sam Raimi. I think a good amount of that movie comes from Marvel. It's like, here's what we need this movie to do. It has a major role, and we need X, Y, and Z to happen to fit that in, which is why the Russos are the perfect choice for Avengers movies. Because they're TV directors. They slot into a role, they manage the cast, they're the Brock Purdy of directors. They're the people who are going to come in, they're going to manage your game, you can put the big stars around them, and they'll do a great job. If you have them do their own thing, they're not going to do great. Look at the 49ers this year. That's what, that they are fantastic game managers. And that's why they work for the Avengers movies, and even for, like, Winter Soldier and Civil War. So all of that said, moving Blade off the schedule is probably the best idea, because at this point, if you keep dating it and then you keep missing that date, it continually looks worse. So what do? You take it off the slate entirely. We'll date it when we know we can hit the date. That said, I think November 2026 is the likely date. You can make it either a Battle World movie if that's the angle they're November 2026 would be after Doomsday. So it's either a Battle World movie or it's like, how we have this. We always have a prequel before a Avengers movie that's set in the past, where it's like we had Captain America, and then we had what's it called? And then we had what was it? Captain Marvel. We get these distant past, kind of, things to explain who these characters are. That could be Blade. Blade could be the new Man Out of Time kind of character. We'll see. Because I heard inklings that I was going to be set in the 1920s, which, all right, cool. Let's see how that goes. Which brings us to the next story. The full release slate for Disney+. I love this. As someone who has to plan out the as someone who has to plan out how they're going to cover stuff based on when it's coming out, I've always been kind of annoyed at the fact that Disney Plus doesn't give you more notice, so you have more time to plan around it, both to do lead time work to establish what's going into the movie, what needs to be, how we did for Agatha, we did the WandaVision rewatch. Like, having the opportunity to do that was they gave enough time for that. But a lot of times they're just like, oh, by the way, in 4 weeks, get ready for this. So, and then you got to plan around it and move shit around, and it's a pain in the ass. Especially if there's two things going on at once, then you got to decide which one are we going to prioritize as priority one. Who knows? We'll see. But the point is, when we talk about, this planning, I like having concrete dates and then later in the year time frames where we're going to get stuff. So, very quickly, some of the dates may be incorrect because I'm doing this off of memory and I watched this trailer a while ago. We have What If at in December. That's our big one this year, at the end of the year. Similar to last year, we had What If at the very end. And very quickly, I'm not super gung-ho about What If. I've been kind of on the fence. Maybe this year we'll get more set up into where we're going. Like that shot of Storm with Mjolnir is very clearly evocative of Secret Wars 2. Where she is, what's it called? Where she's one of the Thor Corps or whatever the fuck it was called, who keep order from the various worlds of Battle World. Like that, that's what that could be, and that would be cool. I think if that's what they're doing, they're setting up. Oh, so we're starting this. This whole thing is now in Battle World. So, regardless of all that, the other thing that we have is, starting next year, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is early in the year, in January. I'm interested in the show, and I think that, this is the first real experiment for, a pseudo-canon thing for Marvel. This is kind of an explanation where it's based on the characters that are being introduced here, and I do like the idea of Coulson Domingo playing, what's his name? Norman Osborn. I like that. But the amount of characters that are being introduced here who, I don't remember if this is meant to be MCU canon or not. I seem to recall this it originated as Spider-Man freshman year, which was meant to be a year one for MCU Spider-Man before Civil War. All right, that's cool. I think that's an interesting idea, but I think a lot of the concepts they're going with here feel a lot bigger than that, because of Nico Minoru's in this, and you have all these other Spider-Man characters, and then we get to the movies, and none of them are there. It feels a little off. But I think this is just dealing with kind of a pseudo-canon kind of thing, where it's not really canon, but, it can be as much as you want it to be, which is what a lot of this is going to end up being. So our next thing after that is Daredevil Born Again, which is hands down the thing I'm looking forward to the most out of all of this. Daredevil Born Again is what's it called? Is we're gonna see what's his name? We're gonna see Fisk become mayor. I think we're looking at an adaptation of the Mayor Fisk storyline, and the thing is too, it's like that shot of him sitting down with Fisk there. I'm like, is this Matt becoming district attorney? I don't know. District attorney's not appointed in New York. District attorney is elected, but it is what it is. It's all kind of cool, and I'm very interested to see where this all kind of goes, because I do love those shows. Like that Daredevil show is fantastic, and then anytime he's shown up in other places, it has elevated what he's in. When he shows up in No Way Home, which admittedly small cameo, but it does what it needs to. When he shows up in what was the other one? When he shows up in She-Hulk, great work by him, and that episode is great. And then when he shows up in there was another thing. Echo is probably my favorite of the Disney era cameos, where he shows up and he's it's that take of like, what does it look like when Daredevil comes in and you're one of the criminals, and how fucked up is that? And that's what this looks like, and they do a great job with that. So I want to see them kind of handle it here. Plus John Bernthal's back, also always down with that. So all of that said, then the next show after that is the next one after that Ironheart in June? Yeah, that sounds right. Ironheart in June. I did not know Ryan Coogler was an executive producer until he took the stage at D23 and was kind of like, hi, I'm producing this as well. I'm very interested in this as well. I like that girl who plays Riri Williams, who was in Wakanda Forever. I like Anthony Ramos. I like him as an actor, so I'm interested to see him in the role of the Hood. I've heard this could be where we get Mephisto. Who knows? Let's see what happens. And that's what I want. I want to see this fight between what's it called? I want to see this fight between the magic and tech, which is something I've been waiting for from the MCU. We have a lot of big tech. We have a lot of big magic. They've never really had to go head to head, and now we're going to see that. Then we have, in August, it is the Eyes of Wakanda. I might be missing stuff. Eyes of Wakanda is the animated series, also from Ryan Coogler, where they show off the, the history of Wakanda going through the decades, or through the generations, and how Wakanda interacts with the world at large, and also with the various other secret societies. So we are getting an Iron Fist in this show because Kun Lun is in play. Again, very interested in this one too. I love the way they've fleshed out the world of the Black Panther in the MCU. So seeing this show is a very interesting way to do that further. Then after that is Zombies in October. I feel like there's a live-action show that I'm missing. I don't think so, though. Zombies, which is the Marvel Zombies spin-off of What If, which I wasn't super, thrilled about. Like, I don't like What If, so I'm like, a spin-off of What If is not exactly high on my, list. And then Wonder Man, which we don't have much of Wonder Man to be able to properly render a take on, I think. And nor do I know where this necessarily fits in going forward. I'm also not the biggest, I'm not saying I'm not a big fan of Wonder Man. I'm saying I'm not familiar enough with the character to be able to be like, oh, this is good or this is bad. I don't know enough about the character to be like hyped or not. So I think kind of stark indifference to that is kind of where I fit in, because I'm like, all right, this could be cool or this could be dumb. And we've seen a lot of ranging quality of the MCU shows on Disney Plus, to the point where I'm like, well, where on the spectrum is this gonna fall? And I don't know enough about it, but we'll see when it comes out. We'll watch it, in a little over a year from now, but I'm not... It's one of the things I'm not overly optimistic about it. But we'll see. So, yeah, I think we have a lot in play on Disney Plus, and I like that we're getting it this far out. And I think, like I said, this coupled with them removing Blade from the release slate does kind of put forward a feeling of confidence. It puts forward a feeling of, like, okay, we're doing, like, we know we're going to hit these dates, so get ready, this is coming on these dates. Especially the ones that have concrete dates, because they'd never do it this far out on the streaming shows. So, we'll see what comes out when, but I'm feeling optimistic that a lot of these things are going to stick to these dates. Now, the farther out ones, I think Zombies is kind of guaranteed for October, because that's a good Halloween kind of thing, but I'm not holding my breath that Wonder Man comes out exactly when they say it's going to. That's kind of the thing that I'm like, well, it could. Like, it could come out on the date that they're saying it will, in December, but if it got bumped into 2026, I wouldn't be shocked. But we'll see. We will see. And finally, we got 2 new trailers, a trailer for Thunderbolts and a trailer for Brave New World. I think I'm slightly more up on Thunderbolts and slightly more down on Brave New World after seeing these trailers. Thunderbolts looks like it's going to be kind of fun to have these characters all interact together and have them, begrudgingly have to form this team to take down Val. I think that's a really interesting place to put these characters. Like, these are all the spirit people who, need something to do, basically. So putting them into the situation is kind of interesting. That said, I think the action sequence in the beginning is not particularly the best, necessarily, in the beginning of the trailer. But, it could just be that I was watching it on silent on my phone. Maybe the music kind of adds something to it. When I see the trailer in a theater before some other movie, I'll have more thoughts on it, because that's kind of the thing where it's like, it looks cool on your phone, it looks cool on your laptop, and then you go out and you watch the trailer, in a theater, and it's like, the thing that sold me on Eternals was going and seeing the IMAX screen and seeing the Celestial in full creation. And Captain America, I'm hesitant. And I think the only reason I'm hesitant, it's not even Captain America's fault. I think the only reason I'm hesitant is because it's giving off the same Winter Soldier vibe. They're definitely going for it. I think Julius Ona is a great choice for this. I loved Luce. Luce is a great movie. If you haven't watched Luce yet, go watch that movie. It's great. Luce. But when I see this trailer, my thought is not, this looks like something that's going to be really cool. My thought is that this is something that could be bloated pretty quickly. Like, I look at this trailer and my first thought is, it's kind of giving me the vibe of, like, what was that other movie? Iron Man 2. Where it's like, this Captain America movie is going to be holding on its back a lot of world building. Which is fine. If you want to have this movie be the atlas of MCU world building, fine, okay, let's see how you can do that. But at the end of the day, a world building movie is cool, but you gotta give me a good movie too. And I don't know if this is gonna deliver that. Because, like, my thing when I watch it is like, okay, so Red Hulk is Hulk, but red. And if and apparently he's red because he's hot and he can cause fires. Like, Sam is not a super soldier. Sam is just a guy with wings. Like, maybe he takes super soldier serum at some point, because, like, I don't think the human body can really withstand the G-force of going supersonic without it. But whatever, it is what it is. I'm interested, and I'm not down on it to the point where I'm like, this is going to be bad. I'm just kind of like, if the rating system is like, overwhelming positive, this is actually a good idea. We'll do this another time. We'll do this, another time. Overwhelming positive. I would say this is like cautious optimism. And then we'll see how it goes, from there. But we'll wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.